What does a ship sound like when no one is aboard to hear it? Does it creak and groan in the silence, or does it simply become part of the endless hush of the Arctic night? Imagine the hollow echo of footsteps that never come, the whisper of wind through empty cabins, and the slow, patient settling of wood and steel as the cold presses in from all sides. In the Arctic, a lone Inuk hunter glimpses a dark shape gliding through the ice, a steamship, empty and silent, moving with eerie purpose. The sight is unsettling, almost supernatural, a vessel where there should be none, drifting across the frozen wasteland as if guided by invisible hands. The hunter pauses, heart pounding, unsure if he's witnessing a vision or a waking dream. The SS Baychimo became more than a lost vessel. It became Arctic legend, a ghost ship haunting the endless white. Stories spread among trappers, explorers, and the Inuit. Tales of a ship that refused to die, appearing and vanishing like a phantom. Each sighting added to its myth, and soon, the Baychimo was no longer just a ship, but a symbol of the Arctic's secrets. How could a ship, abandoned to the crushing ice, survive and sail on, alone? The Baychimo should have been claimed by the elements, splintered by pressure, buried beneath snow, or swallowed by the shifting flows. Yet, year after year, it endured, drifting further into legend with every passing winter. The Baychimo defied the North's harsh reality, refusing to become a wreck. Its hull, battered but unbroken, seemed to possess a will of its own. Against all odds, it survived storms, shifting ice, and the relentless cold, as if determined to outlast every attempt to claim it. The Arctic distorts perception, and at first, sightings were dismissed as mirages or tricks of the mind. The endless white can play cruel games, conjuring shapes from fog and shadow. But the Baychimo was different. Its presence lingered, undeniable, even as logic insisted it could not be. But the reports kept coming, year after year, too consistent to ignore. Hunters, traders, and even rescue parties all told the same story. A ship adrift, empty but intact, haunting the ice like a restless spirit. The Baychimo became a legend that refused to fade, its story growing with every retelling. The Baychimo was real, a silent wanderer in a frozen world. It became a symbol of endurance and mystery, a reminder that even in the harshest places, some stories refuse to end. Its empty decks and silent halls echoed with the memory of those who once sailed her, and the promise of secrets yet undiscovered. It seemed to absorb the wild spirit of the Arctic, becoming as mysterious as the northern lights. The Baychimo was no longer just a ship. It was a legend, a question mark drifting through the ice, a challenge to those who dared to seek it out. Its journey was a quiet rebellion, a testament to the unknown. The Baychimo's story is a reminder that the world still holds mysteries. Silent, drifting, waiting to be discovered beneath the endless Arctic sky. Before it was a legend, the SS Baychimo was an ordinary cargo steamer launched in Sweden in 1914. Purchased by the Hudson's Bay Company in 1921, it supplied remote Arctic trading posts, braving perilous journeys each year. The crew were seasoned, focused on survival, and routine, not superstition. The Arctic was the true adversary. Its brief summer thaw offered a narrow window for navigation, while winter's ice could trap or crush a ship without warning. Every voyage was a race against the seasons. The Baychimo's story began as one of commerce and endurance. No one suspected it would become a legend. In the autumn of 1931, the steamship Baychimo found itself ensnared by the early grip of Arctic ice near the remote coast of Alaska. The ship, heavily laden with valuable furs from trading expeditions, was suddenly immobilized, its hull locked tight by the relentless freeze. The crew, seasoned but wary, could only watch as the world around them transformed into a vast, frozen wilderness. the horizon stretching endlessly in every direction, broken only by jagged ridges of ice and the distant pale sun. As days passed, hope for a thaw faded. The men huddled in the ship's cramped quarters, listening to the groans of shifting ice and the howling wind. Then, without warning, a brutal blizzard descended upon them, battering the Baychimo with snow and gale-force winds, reducing visibility to nothing and turning the ship into a prison of ice and fear. With supplies dwindling and the storm showing no mercy, a rescue was attempted. Most of the crew were airlifted to safety by daring pilots, braving the treacherous weather. Yet Captain Cornwell and a handful of loyal men refused to abandon the Baychimo, choosing instead to build a makeshift shelter on the ice, determined to wait out the storm and protect their ship. When the blizzard finally relented, the men emerged from their icy refuge to a haunting silence. The Baychimo was gone. In its place stood only a towering pressure ridge, slabs of ice thrust skyward, as if marking a grave. The ship had vanished without a trace, swallowed by the Arctic night. Stunned and heartbroken, the men could only assume the worst. They believed the Baychimo had been crushed beneath the ice and sunk to the bottom of the frozen sea, taking its cargo and secrets with it. With heavy hearts, they were evacuated, convinced that the Baychimo's story had ended in tragedy, lost forever to the Arctic's unforgiving embrace. News spread quickly. The ship was reported lost, presumed sunk, another casualty of the merciless North. For most, that would have been the end. But the Arctic, mysterious and unpredictable, had other plans for the Baychimo. The disappearance of the Baychimo was only the beginning of a much stranger tale. Whispers began to circulate among trappers and explorers, rumors of a ghost ship drifting through the ice, appearing and vanishing, without warning. The legend of the Baychimo was about to be born, a story that would haunt the Arctic for decades to come. The Baychimo was not finished with the world. Its fate would become one of the greatest mysteries of the frozen North. A chilling reminder that in the Arctic, nothing is ever truly lost. Days after the crew's desperate evacuation, an Inuk hunter, traversing the frozen expanse, caught sight of a haunting silhouette on the horizon. Reflective pause. It was the Baychimo, miraculously intact, drifting aimlessly 45 miles from the place where her crew had abandoned her to the merciless Arctic. The ship, battered but unbroken, had survived the ordeal that should have been her end. Word of the sighting spread quickly, stirring hope and disbelief in equal measure among those who had left her behind. The storm that had threatened to destroy the Baychimo had instead become her unlikely savior. Reflective pause. The violent winds and shifting ice flows had freed her from the pack ice's deadly grip, setting her adrift once more. Yet, the freedom came at a cost. The ship was now at the mercy of the elements, tossed by the Arctic's unpredictable moods. Captain Cornwell and his men, driven by a mix of duty and disbelief, mounted a perilous journey to reclaim their vessel. When they finally reached the Baychimo, they found her battered by the storm, her hull scarred, her decks littered with ice and debris. Reflective pause. The ship was no longer seaworthy. The damage was too great, her structure weakened by the relentless cold and shifting ice. With heavy hearts, the crew salvaged what little they could from the wreck, personal belongings, valuable cargo, and essential equipment. Each step through the deserted corridors echoed with the memory of what the Baychimo had once been. Reflective pause. The decision was made. They would leave her behind, surrendering her to the Arctic's icy embrace. This was the true moment of abandonment, the instant when hope faded and the Baychimo was left to face her fate alone. No longer a vessel of commerce, she became something else entirely, a ghost ship, shrouded in mystery and sorrow. Reflective pause. No longer imprisoned by the ice, the Baychimo drifted silently across the Arctic seas, her silhouette a lonely figure against the endless white. She was utterly alone, a solitary wanderer in a frozen wilderness. her future uncertain. The Baychimo was left to the mercy of the elements, a derelict vessel with no master, no crew, and no destination. The wind howled through her empty corridors, and snow drifted across her decks, erasing the last traces of human presence. Reflective pause. Human hands had given up. The ice, however, had not. The Arctic continued its relentless assault, testing the ship's endurance with every passing storm and every freezing night. As the Baychimo drifted further from civilization, her story began to take on a life of its own. Whispers of the ghost ship spread among sailors and hunters, each sighting adding to her legend. Reflective pause. She became a symbol of the Arctic's power and mystery, a ship that refused to die. The Arctic had claimed the Baychimo, but it had not destroyed her. Instead, it had transformed her into a legend, a silent drifting reminder of nature's might and the enduring mysteries of the frozen north. After its abandonment, sightings of the Baychimo multiplied. Prospectors, hunters, and even stranded Inuit took shelter aboard the empty ship. It drifted with the currents, appearing and vanishing with the seasons. Boarding parties found only silence and decay. Salvage attempts failed. Storms and ice always intervened. The Baychimo seemed to resist capture, as if the Arctic itself protected it. It would vanish for years, then reappear miles away. Its final confirmed sighting was in 1969, frozen in the Chukchi Sea. I remember once, squinting at a faded photograph, wondering if that shadow on the horizon was really the Baychimo, or just a trick of the Arctic light. By then, it was more legend than ship, a fixture of the Arctic wild. The Baychimo story lives on in the memories of those who saw it. There's something quietly moving about that. Locals spoke of it as a persistent anomaly, not a ghost, but a fact of life. It's strange how something so elusive could feel so present. Sightings were fleeting, a glimpse through fog, a shadow on the ice. I can almost picture it. The ship became part of Arctic oral history, a symbol of human ambition adrift. There's a quiet sadness in that. After 1969, it vanished without a trace. It's hard not to wonder what really happened. Did it finally sink, or is it still out there, locked in the ice? The thought lingers. The silence after its last sighting is more haunting than the ship itself. It's oddly affecting. The mystery remains, unresolved and unsettling. And honestly, that stays with me. The Baychimo drew the attention of salvagers and explorers. Every effort to recover it was unsuccessful, thwarted by the Arctic itself. The ship always seemed just beyond reach, shielded by its surroundings. It stood as a quiet reminder of the boundaries set by nature. Even recent searches, such as Alaska's 2006 effort, did not succeed. The Baychimo remained out of reach, a presence in the ice. Its story is one of endurance, not superstition. The Arctic holds its mysteries. The Baychimo's endurance seems to invite endless speculation. Some suggest its sturdy build may have helped it survive, drifting like a steel iceberg on Arctic currents, though no one can say for sure. Others wonder if it stands as a metaphor for nature's indifference, order dissolving into chaos once humans let go, or perhaps something else entirely. The ship became a canvas for Arctic stories, a tangible mystery in a land where answers are rarely clear. Its legend grew with each retelling, shaped and reshaped by those who only caught glimpses. The Baychimo resists easy explanation, offering more questions than answers. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to linger, never fully revealed. In the end, the ship's true cargo may have always been the question mark it left behind. Nearly a century after its abandonment, the Baychimo's fate is still unknown. Technology may one day find its wreck, but the mystery will remain. The Baychimo is a ghost ship of the industrial age, a relic of ambition and fallibility. Its voyage is a haunting image. Motion without meaning. Existence without purpose. The question lingers. Where is the Baychimo now? Is it resting on the ocean floor, or still drifting, waiting for discovery? The silence is its only answer. Sometimes, like the Baychimo, We leave parts of ourselves adrift, stories unfinished, questions unanswered. In that quiet uncertainty, we find both the ache of loss and the hope that someone, someday, will understand.